YouTube says we are live. So we are live. Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 225. The gang is all here with Tony and John and Don and John and John. You guys get how funny it is when there's how many Johns there are in this chat. Mike and Dewan and Garth and Leo and David and other people. And
Every club needs two Johns.
every club ends up having multiple Johns. There's a John in my club. Okay, so we're going to do today a little bit different than normal. David is here from Siage Racing, and he's going to show us a cool new product he's doing. David, do you want me to do the main presenting, and then you answer questions, or do you want to do the presenting and me fill in the blanks? You're muted. There you go. You can't hear us? Oh, we can hear you. Okay. Can you speak? Okay. Your microphone is working. Okay, so I'll go ahead and present on your behalf, and then you can answer questions
Juste, Greg, est-ce que tu m'entends? Est-ce que tu m'entends, toi? Do you hear me? Sorry, do you hear me?
Coming in clear.
Yes, you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yep. But me, I don't hear you. I'm very sorry. So I have to try on my computer to
okay,
know
you work
why.
On that.
So if you want to begin with another, it's okay for me.
His headphones are set to spouse.
That's okay. We'll let David work on that. We'll do our other show. We'll do our normal stuff until he gets his headphones working. So Tony's got his hand up, presumably for a show and tell. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, these arrived this afternoon.
Yay, Tony!
Shiny.
Corvette.
There we go.
C7R.
It's hard to do
That one is that 132nd or 124?
132nd.
Those are 132nd.
In the Ultra. Another one.
These were all pre-ordered, and for some reason they always send everything at once.
Poor baby. Yeah, one of the guys is racing one of those
Acura.
in the club.
Honda, Acura. Yeah, whatever.
Those wheels and look quite nice.
And what on this one here? On this one?
Yeah, I like those. They're really nice.
It's the NXS.
NSX.
NSX, yeah.
NSX. Another Corvette.
NXR.
It's a C8.
Do the sizes of the Scale Auto and the NSR seem to be about the same?
Okay.
You mean scale accuracy?
Yeah, the scale accuracy or the comparative size between them. Two Corvettes, for example. Does the Scale Auto and the NSR seem to be about the same?
Yeah, they're 132nd scale adjacent.
Yeah, the NSR will be more slotified. The Scale Auto will be more, not necessarily perfectly scale accurate, but more scale accurate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because NSR has a tendency to slotify shapes. But you got a big old stack there. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Thunder Slot does a lot of slotification too, don't they?
It's a
I mean, they spawned
BMW
off of NSR, so yeah.
M8. It's the Cadillac.
Somebody's postman has a hernia again.
And
He's in
another-
hospital as we speak.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
But I put these on pre-order, and I do all the pre-orders, and for some reason I don't hear nothing for a while, and in the post I get 10 cars at once.
They all came on the same boat.
They all come on the same boat. Yep. And that's me done. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks for showing off your loot as per usual.
Yeah.
Garth has his hand up. What would you like to share, Garth?
I have an update on my suspension stuff.
There we go. Okay. Carry on.
All right. You got that?
I
Yeah,
see a thing,
a fixture.
a jig.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I finally decided to bite the bullet and take Jim Rose and Chris Walker's advice, and I had to shave down some of the motor pods, okay, for the suspension. So I figured out a way to do it, and I built this little test rig here. It's got a couple aluminum things and aluminum blocks that are glued together, and a couple of M2 tapped holes in it. Okay, that's it's a side view of it, and then it's got some reusable Loctite and some M2 screws with the very flat head on them for adjustment, for adjusting the pod lugs up and down to be cut off. Okay. And then this is a little clamp that clamps the pod into the fixture. There it is with the pod into the fixture. Okay. And it's kind of a crude methodology, but it'll work. You know, it worked twice anyway so far. And that's with the pod, and you can see the lugs are setting up the distance that I wanted to shave off. Okay, and that was 0.5 millimeters. You know, a half a millimeter cut off. And the way I did it was, you know, I just take a Dremel tool with a rotary sander on it. I sand these surfaces down until I almost flush with the block, trying to avoid the block, you know, hitting the block with the tool. And then I take a piece of very rough sandpaper because it's nylon, and I found that unless you have rough sandpaper, it won't even cut the nylon. Okay, so I take just a nice smooth wood block with some rough sandpaper on it and sand it down the rest of the way down to the block to get the thing shaved down to 0.5 millimeters. Okay, and then I proceeded to do that into this car. Okay, and this car is the car that's got the all the SLS stuff in it, and the rotating pod, and this is the end result of the pod. The pod's being cut down. You see the pod has been cut down half a millimeter, and then underneath between the chassis and the pod lug is a MR slot car 0.5 silicone washer, okay, as suggested by those guys to me. And then above it on this car is a stainless steel washer, a 1.4 millimeter red silicone O-ring, another stainless steel washer, and a nylock nut. Okay, now that combination produced a lap times from 0.3 to 0.5 seconds faster. Okay, just that combination. The previous combination didn't have any of the logs of the pod lugs cut off, and above it, it had 3 red silicone washers. Okay, this was just with 1 red silicone washer and an MR slot car underneath. And right off right off the get-go, it's very, very much more drivable and like I said, about a 0.5, half of a second faster lap time. Okay, this is the second car I did it to. Okay, F40 again with the pod lugs and so on and so forth. Let's go back with that and I'll show you that. This one a little bit different setup, exactly the same process to cut the pod lugs down. In fact, even if you look real closer, you'll see some sanding marks from when I was shaving the bottom of this off, okay, where the sanding block was hitting into that. Okay, and an MR slot car silicone 0.5 washer underneath, and above we got a stainless steel washer, and then 3.5 millimeter MR slot car washers to equal 1.5 millimeters, or the equivalent of the red O-ring that I put in the other car, and then another stainless steel washer and Nylock nut. And again, this car produced 0.3 to 0.5 second faster lap times with more drivability. Okay, so it was pretty impressive, okay, that it made that much of a difference. Okay, and seriously, it's not really that much of a difference, because when I say lap times, I'm talking about 24-ish second lap times. So 0.5 seconds added under, minused off a 24-second lap time. So, and the next test will be, I ordered some more MR slot car washers in 1 millimeter and 1.5 millimeter. And first I'll try them up on the top, okay, and see if that makes any big difference, okay. And then I might shave the bottom off to 1 millimeter and try it with a 1 millimeter washer underneath, okay. And the interesting thing here is you look at this setup, okay. And where I'm trying to go with this is I'm trying to go where I can use different things to come up with the same result. And so far, that's what this is doing. On the above the pod setup here on the suspension, I've got the equivalent of 1.5 millimeters in MR slot car silicone washers, 3 in a stack. And if we go back to the one that was on the other car, it's the same underneath, but this one's got an O-ring in it, okay? And what I'm finding out is that they are identical, okay? I believe that the diameter of the O-ring and the diameter of the MR slot car washers are pretty much the same, because they drive the same, they feel the same. And so that is a win-win for me as far as I'm concerned, because I mean, from a cost standpoint, these are much, much cheaper, okay, than the MR. And I like the MR slot car washer because it is flat, okay? So I think it's a better idea to have a flat surface on the chassis than it is to have an O-ring surface down in that place. And I don't have any other metal washers or anything on there. So that's kind of my conclusion so far with this, okay? So I'd call it a win-win. Okay.
Looking good. Good progress. Good experimentation. Any other questions or suggestions for Garth? Jim, it looks like you saw most of that.
I am wondering if what Mike thinks of that, or what he's doing with his. I know he's got a pod that have you done anything with the pod that you have?
Well, actually, I have not done a lot. But I did change out the one of the washers and did some laps with it. But I got to go back and get a baseline again to make sure that it's going to be different. But I've been mucking about with the oxygen stuff a bit, so that's taken up most of my time.
One of the things I did find out that I wish was different on the MR slot car washer is the hole, the inside hole, okay, is 1.5 millimeter, or no, I'm sorry, it's 2.5 millimeters. And to me, it's a little wonky on using it on a screw that's got a straight shank, or a shank that's turned down to a smaller diameter. So it would be, I would like it better if I had a little bit smaller diameter on that underneath washer, but performance wise, really quite good. So
Okie dokie, good stuff.
MR
Moving
slot car
on.
actually does have a smaller one, but it will be too small because I think it's a 1.6 hole in the other one. It's a very, very small little washer.
well, they do. What do they call it? Because I didn't see it anymore.
You won't find it on MR slot car. You'll find it on Mazzetti Racing, I think, because it's the one that they use on their 124 scale steel cars in between the uprights of
Yeah.
where the
Actually,
back end of it is. And they're the ones that I've seen are particularly small, but as I say, they've got a 1.6 hole.
okay, that might work, because
I'll see if I can dig it up and I'll drop you a line about it.
I got those, the MRs from Slot Car Corner. So I wonder if they have it at Slot Car Corner.
Oh, and I was going to say about your pod, I also have one of your pods, and the only thing I can report is that the extended shelf life test is going pretty well at this point.
Oh, wow, you're right in Mike Mauer's,
Nice to know I'm not alone.
Although the difference between you and Mike Mauer is you didn't ask me 27 times when I was going to make them available, so.
Oh, true. Yeah, true. I will get around to it, but yeah, we've had big races going on and all kinds of things. So I'm struggling a little bit to catch up to all those projects, I'm afraid.
All right, what would you like to do for show and tell, Dennis?
Just thought I'd show you this because I tried it last night at Electric Dreams for a race, and very many of you have ever seen a thing like this before. So this is a Carstein CS2 controller, pretty much stock. The handle section and the control box section of the controller are pretty much stock. What I've done is I've added this whole piece to it, which is an old school wire choke. It's a piece of aluminum tubing with some about 25 gauge or 26 gauge insulated copper wire wound around it. There's about 30 feet of wire wound onto that, 102 turns to be exact. And it was wound for me by a friend of mine years back. I've had this thing sitting around here for probably 6 or 8 years now, and never did use it, but now I decided to use it. So what I did was made up a little bracket that mounts it, stuck it onto the edge of the heatsink of the controller's control box, put in a multi-position switch here with one terminal this side and another terminal on the other side. And the idea is that this gets wired into the power supply to the motor of the car. So if you're going to use this, you would take the black wire of the controller, right? Let's see if I can do this, and clip it on here. And then the other end of this, on that yellow wire, would go then to the track. And then as you turn the multi-position switch from its initial position, which is right down here at like 5 o'clock, as you turn it around clockwise all the way to like 4 o'clock on 7 o'clock all the way to 4 o'clock on that side, it progressively connects in more and more and more of this wire into that. So it progressively adds resistance into that lead that's going to the power of the motor. The whole thing only has a total resistance of about 0.3 of an ohm, but that is enough at full length to noticeably slow down the acceleration of the car coming out of a corner. Because of course at the low RPM, when you're accelerating out of corners, that's when the motor is drawing the most power, the most current, and therefore this is starting to share that current.
We lose Dennis.
I think you used all the
And
current.
therefore the motor gets more of
There
the
it is.
voltage.
Your internet is a little jumpy.
I'm sorry, is it just movement, or is it am I cutting?
No, just every once in a while you freeze for like 10 seconds.
All right, well, let's see if I can do something about that. Just close down a whole bunch of other
Don't know. It could be anything.
I've closed down every other app that's running on my computer right now, so hopefully that will work better. Anyway, so the reason for all of this is that this particular controller, while it's very nice and works very well, does not have, well, it has a choke, but it's a voltage choke, which means that it cuts, as you use it, it cuts the voltage that's applied to the motor. And it cuts it across the entire range of speed. So it's really nice for cars with super powerful motors. Very similar to what the TrueSpeed controllers call an acceleration feature. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you. So what I had to do was obviously mount it and then clear off the insulation around the wire at various lengths along this, and then add in these little wire taps that each go to a single point of that rotary switch. And then from there,
So you don't have to move a wire or a clip or anything.
so I don't have to move a wire or a clip. I have another one of these where it has 6 or 8 little connections like this, and you just move your alligator clip from one to the next. But this is nicer because it you won't knock it off, and you don't change the setting very easily, and it looks tricky.
Yep.
So the guy. So yeah, that's me. Okay.
Good stuff. All right, Mr. Weber, what you got?
Some show and tell here. My purchase of, oh, sorry to scare you like that. The of things to build from, and a couple of things. A Strombecker Testarossa. Okay, that's stripped. It had this hand applied, brush applied black enamel. Who knows how thick it was or how long ago that happened, but pretty long time ago, I think. Okay, I also have a D Jaguar Strombecker also. Let's see. Then about the same time, I've got this Lindbergh Aston Martin. I think it's called a DP2. They made 3 versions. There were only 3 cars. I think a total of 3 of these cars. And there was a DP212, DP214, and a DP250. And there were lots of differences underneath the skin, but they all look pretty much the same. And it's a beautiful car. It's was not attributed to Zagato, but it looks a lot like a Zagato. from that era. They were based on the DB4 GT, and then so they had the top speed on the Le Mans Lausanne Straight, or Munadier, whatever you want to call it, of I think it was 178 or something. It was the fastest car in the race that year as far as top speed was concerned. Anyway, it's a nice little model. It's going to eventually be a slot car. Then, to see that how small it is, here's a scaly Camaro, 69 Camaro, next to the, sorry, I have to fix this. Just got it. Can't. You can't stand it. I can't stand it either. Let's see here. Okay. So these things were tiny on. It just really gets me how small the cars were then and how they are not now. Anyway, got that. Then also, I acquired there were 4 or 5 bodies for $15, and this is not what I was looking for, but this is a Scalextric Opel Calibra V6 from the DTM era. Should make something interesting. There were a couple of others, but what I was going for was this one here. The Crosal, the Key Mark 7 from Strombecker also. This thing I think has lots of potential. Now I found an article on Electric Dreams newsletter where they took a couple of these and sort of tried to bring them up. They slaughterized them, I guess you'd call it, or they made a larger model that they say is more accurate. And I haven't measured this. I haven't found the specifics for the wheelbase and all that for the McKee, for the real car. So I don't know, but these look good. And I think it has lots of potential to be something really different for, your Can-Am stables. But then, let's see, also was able to pick up one more thing from our friend Frank Sisto, a slotted Alfa Romeo 155 Ti. And it's in really good shape. Got a good deal on it. Frank sent it. It's like lightning coming from the West Coast to here. So I really appreciate it. It's, like I say, really good shape. And here's one I've had for a while, is a Nenko version of the same car. There's quite a bit of difference. There's more detail in the slotted in practically every way. Now, I've never run the Nenko or the slotted for that matter, but we'll see how that works out. Anyway, all pleasing stuff to me. That's all I have.
Very cool. And now I noticed, and somebody else noticed, that the sound quality right now is fantastic. So I gotta ask, can you think of anything different? Like, do you normally have a fan on in that room? Do you normally have a radio on in that room, or anything that might contribute to noise in that room that's not there today?
No, what really changed was probably, I don't know, a month and a half ago. I got a microphone and mounted on top of the iMac. It's a Samsung, I can't remember what it's called. The model.
I mean, even last week it wasn't as good. So.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Whatever you're doing, it's
got
possible.
an air conditioner 3 feet away and a ceiling fan. Otherwise, it'd be 95 degrees in here. So. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Whatever you're doing right now is working. Maybe it was just that it was the wrong microphone in Zoom last time or something. Yeah. But yeah, that microphone sounds great.
big improvement over the built-in mic.
Definitely. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do a quick show and tell, and then we'll hopefully get to David's thing. So let me share my screen. Some of you may have already seen this on the various forums and Facebook groups. This is just a simple, technically it's a 3D print because I don't have a sticker machine or a Cricut or anything that can cut sticker. But it's basically, if you're familiar with a Professor Motor controller, which is what this is, there is no panel or sticker or anything to tell you what the knobs do or which way to turn them to get them to do what you want it to do. So the first thing I did was figure out where the holes should be for the knobs, and then I did little tick marks and then figured out how far each knob actually rotates. They both do not rotate the same number of degrees from one end to the other, so that was a thing. And then which way is maximum and which way is minimum, and then do all this design work and stuff, and then printed it out on my fancy printer. And it works real well. Already printed one up for one of the other guys at the club, and other people are printing them and doing other things with them. I'm actually currently working on a DXF file, which is basically just the line art to make it easier for people to do stickers or, cut with vinyl cutters or laser cutters or whatever. Because right now it's just STL models for 3D printing. But I would love for Professor Motor or any company to make this sticker that just says, min max like I have now, and I've redesigned it. I'll go ahead and share my CAD program to show what it actually will look like here. That one. So this is the line art that I'm cleaning up for sharing. So I've added BRK so that you know that the red knob is brakes and SEN, so you know the other knob is sensitivity.
And that answers my question.
And then what?
Answers my question, thank you.
Answers your question, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like which is which.
When you have the controller, it's very easy to remember which is which, but plenty of people out there don't have the controller and said, hey, which knob is which? So I'm adding those. And obviously somebody who's brand new to the controller might forget which knob is which, even though they have different colors. There it is. So there's that, and that's pretty much the main part of my show and tell. David, can you hear us now?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yes, it's okay for me.
Okay, so you can hear us clearly?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's okay for me. No problem.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do David's presentation. Do you want to talk about it and have me fill in the blanks, or do you want me to talk about it and have you answer questions?
I will try to begin first. And okay. If you can help me, it's a pleasure. So okay. I wanted to show you the thing I do since this summer. So it's okay. That's right. It's a slotberry. It's exactly like a raspberry. I don't know if you know, but a Raspberry is a complete computer on a credit card format from. So I make the same philosophy with cards you can put on and add on other and another and another. So there is only the base, the first stair, and the second stair. So it's for digital and analog cars. You can control 12 digital cars, and when you turn the knob there, you can control 2, 3, or 4 analog lane. It's okay? Okay, okay. So how it works? You just have to connect it. Okay. It will begin, and the heartbeat here is to say that it's okay. Here you don't see it because there are no a good definition, but it's right digital, and under it's right the MAC address of the Slotberry. The MAC address is to connect controllers, wireless controllers, and to connect lap sensor. All the connection are compute in the microcontroller there, and send to a lap counter like PC lap counter or another, because I use the protocol of slotted oxygen. I have asked to Maurizio. I say. So he said to me, it's okay, you can use the protocol. When you turn the knob, you can pair the controller to a car, okay? And you can pair like this until 12 cars on the same rail. So just to show the car chip, it's very tiny because it's 1 centimeter and 8 to 1 centimeter and 3 the surface. So, and you just have to connect the motor and to connect the pickup. There is no Hall effect sensor. There is no LED because all the information go through the braid of the track. Okay, and when you turn the knob more time, you see analog car. It's analogic, but Greg, you say to me it was analog, not analogic. So I will make the release to say that. So when you arrive to analog cars, all the electronic will switch and separate all the four lane for this one, because the base here is for 2 lane, and the hat, it's a hat to put on is for 2 lane other, and the last hat is just for manipulation and screen. So when you switch to analog, all the electronic switch to make the track, the lane of the track separately. So I can do just a little demonstration. So for this track, I have only two lanes, so there is only one stem. It's digital car, so this car is digital because there is a car chip inside. If you put it on the track, this car is the car number 1. Okay, if you put it on the car on this lane, it works. On this lane, it works too, because it's a digital car. I don't know if you can see perhaps there. I have a line change over there. So when you press the button at the rear of the controller, you will change the lane. So when I come back here, I am on the other lane. Okay, and go like this. You can put some line change where you want. So, for example, this line change, it's exactly the same. You can put it on the track. I am working with Scaleauto to put this system on their plastic track. So I don't know if you will be happy with that, but I will try to put that. Another thing to do with digital is to enter the pit lane. So it's exactly the same. You have to press the rear button when you are on the pit entry sensor, and you will enter the pit lane and go to the appropriate box. In the pit lane, the speed is limit, and you will have the normal speed at the pit exit. So when you are pit exit, you change the top speed. You can you can connect the Slotberry on a computer. So it arrives with, for example, PC Lab counter. Yes, it's good. Okay, new. Okay. And I don't know if you see, but yes, the track is power off, so my car don't drive. If put power on, the car, sorry, we can drive. I begin the race. So it's power off, and now power on. I will have the 0 on the first for the first lap, and it's normal, and it will count the fuel consumption. Okay, and okay, it works with digital. And now if I turn in analog cars, okay, the computer switch, I will take an analog car. Okay, this car is on the lane 1, and I have the controller number 1, and it will work exactly with the same. And it will count exactly with the same setup the fuel consumption. For the computer, analog or digital is exactly the same. So I can refuel. I pass the lap sensor and I press the button, and I'm in the pit lane. The refuel, and when I press, it will leave the pit lane. So, is it okay for you?
Et voila.
Et voilà. Et voilà.
So I'll just kind of recap for everybody and then take questions.
Yes.
So basically, what he has is
yes. Thank you.
Is a Raspberry Pi computer-based hardware, like a power base, such as for Scalextric or Corregio.
Yes.
It's a piece of hardware that plugs to the track. Presumably, easiest to do a BLST track because you can do it all. But you could probably do it to other kind of tracks. But you need to be able to create the dead strips that are then connected to the system, because this system is based on Davik, which is a dead strip based system similar to Ninco Digital. So as he showed the little chip earlier, there's no LED, there's no hall sensor, there's nothing. It's just wires from the braid to the chip, from the chip to the motor. That's it. When you're driving the car, obviously the power goes into the chip. You're telling it how fast to go. When the car goes over a dead strip for lap counting, then the car is emitting its ID through the braid into the track, just like Ninco Digital. For lane changing, it's doing the same thing. It approaches a lane changer. If you're holding down the lane change button as it crosses the dead strip, it sends the signal telling the lane changer it wants to change lanes or not. The lane changer then flips the flipper or not, and the car changes lanes. With the pit stop, I don't know if you said this, but I think what you told me yesterday was you can program the pit stalls, the lane changer sensor for the pit stall, so that a certain ID of car will use that stall. So you pull into the pit lane manually by holding the button, but then as you're driving along, the appropriate flipper for the stall your car is assigned to will automatically guide you into the correct pit stall. Is that correct?
Yes. For example, you see, this is the car number 4, and I assign the pit box, the first pit box, to him. So when he will arrive, you don't have to press the button because, oh, sorry, I am in analog. Of course,
in analog.
It works. It works. So do you see? Okay. Okay. Yes. But on other box, it goes straight.
Yeah.
And if you take for example, the yellow for me is the number 2, and it will enter into the second. I hope it will work. Yes, it works. So it goes directly, automatically in the assigned box, and exactly the same with the number 3. The number 3 for me is the green one, and when it arrives just in front of the box with the sign, it go automatically in. I put it without the controller, and I don't press any button. Okay, it go automatically at the good box.
So how do you program the flippers to direct the correct car to their correct slot?
You have to connect a computer to the controller, I show you. Yes. Do you see? Okay. Okay. You see the flipper motors?
Yeah.
Thank you. You see the flipper motors, and you have a controller with a microcontroller on. You connect your computer on the USB plug, and you send a command to say this flipper will have the function, for example, or lap counting. For example, the function to pit entry, pit exit. If it send to the lap counter the number of the car, or a lot of things, you just have to make the question mark. A question mark, and you have all the option you can have on this but it's you have to connect, okay, but you do that only one time, so it's not a problem.
Okay, so basically each microcontroller can serve any of those functions, and you connect it to a computer and use a program on your computer one time to tell that particular
Yes.
microcontroller, okay, you are the pit entry controller for the main pit lane, or another one you say you are the pit stall controller for cars 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the next one you say you're the one for cars 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10,
Yes.
11, 12, or whatever you want to do, or you're the
Yes.
lap counter, or you're the pit exit, or you're whatever.
Yes, it's always the same electronic board.
Yeah.
But it will make a lot of things. For example, this is another example. Okay, do you see it? It's okay.
Yep.
It's okay.
4-lane.
4-lane. So perhaps like this is better. So the 4-lane, the car go from here to here. Okay, you see a cross there.
Mhm.
Okay, because when you drive digital, it's an example. But when you when you drive digital, you use only the 2 lane in the middle. Okay, the other lane are used to reslot. So when you reslot before this board, automatically all cars will go on the 2 middle the 2 middle lane. So I do something for that. When you dislot, for example, I can apply damage on your car, and you will lose power, and you will lose brake sensitivity, because you are detected on this dead strike and go. So I can apply some damage, and when you will go to the pit lane, you will have to repair your car before refueling. All this functionality is in the Slotberry. It's an example. Another example for a customer is a 3-lane, but it's all custom 3-lane. It's a 32-meter length track, and he don't wanted cross line change. So I made a line change exactly that he wants.
Yeah.
So
Custom.
it's a track I am building right now.
So you mentioned earlier that Slotted said it was okay to use their wireless communication.
It's not the wireless communication.
What is it?
It's the protocol for between the dongle to the computer. There is a protocol with free to use, and it used by PC-Lab counter, and you send all the car is passed. The throttle is pressed like this, and
so the communication from the Slotberry to the PC.
To the PC, because finally the Slotberry will be a kind of dongle. Finally.
Okay, so it doesn't have its own dongle. You connect the Slotberry to the PC with a USB.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
by the USB, because it's easier, and wireless is only for the controller.
Okay, so you can't use a slotted SCP3 controller with the Slotberry.
No.
But speaking of controllers,
of course no.
If somebody already has your SR2 controller that's wireless.
Yes. It's a good question. Everybody who already has analog controller SR2, it's possible to activate Wi-Fi, and you can connect it to the Slotberry with your analog CH Racing controller. It's the software is already ready. So no.
It's already ready.
Sorry, it's already ready to do that, because my goal was not to make analog cars but digital. So analog was only to earn some money to build all that.
Yep.
All of that.
Very cool. All right. Does anybody have any questions that me or David could answer?
Yes,
David,
if I understand the question, it's okay.
The main question I have is just a curiosity. Do you know much about how Ninco Digital works? Is it? I mean, from the outside perspective, a layman's perspective, my perspective, they work the same, but obviously the actual programming, the firmware is probably different in Ninco Digital versus Davik. But I wonder if they're more closely related. like I wonder if Ninco saw Davik and stole some things from Davik.
So if you remember the history of digital slot cards, it's Davik who was the first. And after Scalextric arrived, and Ninco make a very cheap copy of Davik.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured.
Yes. So finally, I use the car chip from the Davik, but the Davik is very old, and now we can do a lot of things with wireless, with setup on the controller. And I asked to the Davik owner to change the firmware in the car chip read more information, because I needed more information to make all that I want. For example, the car chip, the Davic car chip can understand only 16 different information. Okay, I can understand with the same chip 254 information different. Okay, like this, I can do a lot of things, because for Davic, for example, when you want to brake harder, you have to take your car, put it on a computer, send to the car chip that you want to brake more, and take your car and put on the track and try if it's good or not. And so now I can do very quickly, just in a turn a knob. So for this reason, because there is more information who are sent to the car chip, Davic was up to 15 cars, and I only because of that, I only use 12 cars. I have lost on three cars to have exactly the same reactivity. Greg helped me to be very quick, because, for example, information was sent to the car. There is 50 information per second.
Yep.
With more information, I can't. I have lost three cars, because to keep exactly the same reactivity. It's understandable, Greg.
Yeah. Because you're saying, because each car, because your version
Yes.
is sending more information to each car. The total
Yes.
length of the packet of information to all cars is longer. So in order
It's
to make
longer,
it a shorter packet, so that the refresh rate response time for every car is acceptable, you have to do less cars. So every car gets more
Yes.
information, but less than 15. 12 is not a bad number. So I mean, most of the tracks that
I think
race
so.
on,
I think so.
and even some of the biggest tracks I've seen you create, 12 cars is more than enough
Yeah.
to be racing around at the same time.
I only drive with a 12 car one time in a 36 meter length BLST track. It was fantastic, okay, but it's impossible to understand.
Yeah.
There is a lot of cars, a lot of different speeds, a lot of different kind of driving. So it was very interesting, but enough is enough.
Yes, 12 is enough. Okay, I think that answered my questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Lots, not a whole lot of digital people in here to begin with, but John, what you got?
It's probably a dumb question. This is probably a dumb question, but
No such thing.
you mentioned 50 refresh, 50 times
Per
the
second.
refresh rate for the data going to the cars. Does that relative to the power supply that is in Europe, you're using 50 hertz?
No, because
No,
basically
it's not. It's not for this reason. For example, I have tested with less information per second. So I'm not a very good driver, and when I have 35 less than 35 information per second, I begin to see a difference. It become too smooth. But a very good driver sees the difference just under 45. But for example, if I send 60 information per second or 50 information per second, a very good driver will not see the difference.
Yeah,
For
so
me,
there's no reason to go
for me,
forward. There's no reason to go
35 we could, yes.
There's no reason to go more than 50 because 50 is already above the ability for a good driver to perceive the difference in the quality of being able to drive.
And when I say a very good driver, it's the best driver in France.
Yeah, a good driver.
Perhaps it's not me.
I've got a question, Greg.
Go ahead.
In analog, can you drive 2 cars and 1 lane?
No.
No.
That's literally the definition of digital.
Oh,
yes.
Now, when you said you can drive, you can use it in analog, I thought you could use it the same way as on digital.
What he was describing is that the slot berry allows the track to be controlled with cars sharing the lanes like digital, which is what digital means, or each lane having 1 car in it like analog, which is what analog means. Now you could put 2 cars on a lane and it would work just like if you put 2 cars on a lane on your track on any analog track. They would both go when you pull the trigger and they would both stop when you let go of the trigger.
Yes.
It's an analog of analog.
Analog is analog, digital is digital. You can't do digital on analog, you can't do analog on digital. You can switch between the two, which is what Slotberry does.
Yes.
But you
can't. It's very difficult to make both at the same time, and it's very difficult for me to make both by switching. It was a very big job to do that properly.
Are you focused solely on the Slotberry product, or are you also doing the track designs and layouts as well?
His main business is the tracks, BLST.
So Slotberry can be connected to a BLST track because a BLST track is only a 1-lane track. A BLST track, you see 2 parallel lane, but the definition of a BLST track is the racing line, and the racing line you have only 1 lane, and the other lane to overtake are exactly connect to the racing line.
I misspoke. What I meant was your main business is Sillage Racing, the design and construction of custom stock car tracks. You do analog tracks, you do BLST tracks, and now you'll be doing the switchable Slotberry.
Sorry, my English is very poor. It's very poor, and it's very difficult for me.
I have a habit of conflating Sillage Racing tracks and BLST because you make both. So I often say BLST, but what I mean is
I began 20 years ago with BLST. And yes, BLST is my main job, but I have a lot of customer ask for traditional digital or for traditional analog tracks, and finally I can do that. So it's my main job. I have to earn money too. So my production is very small. I build perhaps 10 tracks a year. So I have to adapt my, and it's my force. I can adapt my production tool to a lot of different possibility. It's for this reason I began to make controllers. I began to make digital my own digital system. It's not to pass over slotted or another one. No, I'm a very little manufacturer, but I try to, because I am little, I can adapt each track to the customer. It's not possible for the other. It's my force.
Yeah.
Are your products available? I'm sorry, are your products available in the US?
Sorry. It's very difficult for me to understand.
So he's asking if people can get your products in the United States.
Only controllers for the moment. I can export to the United States without any problem, but I have not for the moment. I have no
distributor.
Yes, so it's possible for me. For example, there is 2 tracks in Canada. There is 3 tracks in Australia, in Europe, of course, but for United States, it's a difficult market for me, perhaps because I'm French. And I don't sell wine and foie gras. So
I'm sure if you wanted it bad enough, you'd be able to figure out some way to have him freight you a track, you know. But you're talking Slot Mods money almost. It's not quite Slot Mods money, but it's.
Yeah.
No, Slot Mods, for example, is a very good. Is certainly we are only 10 in the world who build slot tracks. And he's certainly the one who is earn the more money, okay? Because he can catch the good customer. It's not possible for me to catch the customer of Slot Mods. Yeah. I keep it. He can keep it. It's not a problem for. It's not a problem for me. It's not my market. But no. Perhaps one time I know him. I already talked to him and present my product. But for the moment, he's not interested, and he has not the customer who is interested in my product. And his scenery, my product, his scenery, it will be a good thing, of course.
All right. Any other questions for David?
I think it's an amazing development. Yeah. Absolutely. Mind-boggling.
Love a good digital to analog switchable track.
Wow. So very, very well done.
Yes.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks to David for coming. And
thank you very much.
Stick around and get some more.
Are you going to ask him that question, Greg, about the La Bench?
We'll ask him after the live show. We're not going to do it live, but yeah, we'll figure that out. Hopefully, I mean it's La Bench's problem.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay, so let's get some other stuff talking about. Mike, you got your hand up. You want to do some Club Corner?
Yeah, a little bit.
Or whatever you want to do.
I've got. Let's see. Where is it? I lost it for a moment. That's my new car.
Oh, hold on. There you go. Oh, you
got that is the body is in the body shop right now. It's a Cadillac LMDH. Yeah, and
That's
I
the spaghetti
made-
version, right?
Yeah, it is the spaghetti version. I made an error actually, and I thought, oh, the B chips are less expensive, so let's get some B chips. Neglecting to think about the fact that I run mostly Scalextrics, and it's the B chip is not compatible with Scalextric.
It'll
It's
run
like-
on Scalextric track,
Yeah.
but not
Right.
as a Scalextric digital. It doesn't have Scalextric digital firmware, if that's what you're saying.
Right, it runs on there, but it's a lot slower if you don't have this chip. I don't know why, but this car runs like half the speed of my other one, the exact same motor and everything. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think it's the chip.
This is for using the AC configuration.
Yeah.
So moving the wires so it works on AC like Scalextric
Yeah.
digital.
So the B chip doesn't do that.
It does. But you move the wires from top to bottom, so it does the AC, right?
Move the wires.
Yes, that's a no. So prior to the Type C chip, where you just move a screw, the previous chips you'd have to desolder the leads from the braid and solder them back up on the underside of the chip, because top side as it comes is for DC, straight pure DC. Bottom side sends the signal through a bridge rectifier. So yeah, it would go half the speed because it's only getting half of the power. So yeah, move the wires to the bottom of the chip. They're literally just on the opposite side of the chip where the wires are currently are two empty pads that will then send it through a bridge rectifier, so you get full power. I mean, you get like half of less than full power.
Good. I'm glad I mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm glad I can tell you the correct answer.
It's like,
I mean, I just wasted a bunch of money.
Yeah, well, or the other thing is that I have to convert my other track to DC.
DC, yeah.
Which is problematic for other reasons.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to run the power supply from the 742, then it makes it easier. And if I just have to switch the wires, I think I can manage that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't know. Since you remember I broke the antenna on this one.
And did you get it back on?
On the Acura, and I soldered it back on, but I haven't been able to get the chip to connect. So either I got too much heat in there and screwed something up, or I got to do a forced DFU thing and try and figure out what's going on.
I mean, check your solder joints. Make sure you didn't create a bridge somewhere.
Well, there isn't anything else around there that I can see on the chip. It's the antenna is completely separate. Although it's really a bear to try and get the old piece out to do that. And interestingly enough, the car worked fine without the antenna. I mean, it just
was sporadic.
No,
on your track
it was
fine.
Perfectly fine on my track. So it's like, okay, I broke it. Anyway, I have to figure out what's going on with that and see what happens. I might have destroyed a chip.
That old plumber's soldering iron is not quite the right thing for that job, right?
Yeah, well, maybe I
gun.
should file down one of my Haka trip tips and make it a little smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. Please don't use a mini torch on that.
That much I did know, Dennis. I may be a hack, but not that much of a hack.
No, Mike, I'm just kidding with you.
All right, what else you got, Mike? Is that it?
That's all this week. I'll let you more know when the Cadillac comes back from the body shop. We're going to try and attempt the gold and black version of it. We'll see how it goes. I'm not holding my breath. Ratby is doing it for me, and he's a pretty relatively skilled modeler. So I'm hoping we'll see. Speaking of that, does anybody know where you can get the decals for the Cadillac versions at all? I haven't seen them anywhere.
Probably MTR32, but maybe Atalaya by now.
Okay. What do you get the direct from Atalaya then?
Well, if we don't have them at Electric Dreams, yeah, then you need
Yeah.
to get them direct.
Yeah. Okay. I will take a look and see.
Although I think some of the other stores handle them as well. I think LEB has Atalaya, and
Oh, do they?
Corner may. I don't know.
Okay. I'll check there too, just to be sure. So, yeah, that's all I got. When
All
the
right,
car
let's
comes
do
out of the body shop, it'll be
a
on
show and tell.
display. Yeah.
All right, so let's do some Club Corner. I raced on Monday with the guys on a wood track. This is our Scale Auto GT series, and we're running Red Stripe Scale Auto foam rubber, which gets plenty of grip, even though it's their hard compound. It's still super grippy. Pretty much the spec is stock Scale Auto R series cars with a little bit of weight if you want to toss in a chunk. And then the Red Stripe foamies. Otherwise, everything is stock. And last week, you might recall that I said that my car was running great at first, and then it started doing the hopping around turns and stuttering and stuff. And that was on plastic. You guys gave me all sorts of insight and things to look at. I didn't see any problems, so I just kind of went with it. Drove fantastic on the routed track. Not too much grip, not enough grip. Drove real nice. Unfortunately, at one point, I lost one of the braid wires out of the guide. So put that back in, ran another heat, happened again. And I'm like, okay, well let's go ahead and stick a grub screw in there. So I get the car apart, and I'm working on getting to put a grub screw in there. Actually, no, the first time I switched it for a grub screw. And then the second time it came out, I'm like, well, what the heck? It must be the other wire that came out, because I only did the one that had come out with a grub screw. So that probably the other one came out. Upon closer inspection, the guide had broken at where the braid goes through. So the blade was fine, the post was fine, but where the braid goes through and you put the little eyelet or the grub screw, that was cracked, just open like a door. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously that's why it keeps coming out. So had to replace the guide, but it was a snap-in guide that is just, I literally had to get pliers to get enough grip on the blade to pull it out of the chassis, praying to God that I didn't break the chassis in the process, because couldn't even wedge anything under there. Anyway, got the old guide out, spent a few minutes putting a new guide in, and when I put the car back together, I decided to go ahead and loosen the screws up just a teeny bit more all the way around, and it drove better. It was just a better car all around. So I don't know, different braid, different guide, better screw setup or whatever. I don't know. The thing was quiet and smooth, like it hadn't run so well before. So I ain't complaining. Unfortunately, all those wire problems and other issues and coming out and whatnot, that was way down the list. I'm pretty sure I actually came in last night, so not a good result, but the car's running better now, so I'm not really complaining. And it's always fun, getting to the bottom is just as fun as getting to the top. That's what I tell myself to prevent from crying too much about it.
The only problem there is it takes a lot less time to get to the bottom than to the top.
That's fortunately the way we same amount of time either way. And I used I used my Professor motor controller. I didn't even bring my other controller because I wanted to prove to these guys that I could still drive a dang car without all the bells and whistles of my fancy controller. And then all these other problems. So that didn't have the result I was looking for. But the controller was fine. I mean, I had to turn up the brakes all the way, turn up the sensitivity all the way, use my 2-finger trigger replacement, so it felt good. I really wasn't complaining about the controller at all, but anyway, I'll keep using that just to see, how well I get on with it. But I like my controller with the battery in it, even though the guys are always giving me shit about having a battery. Like, that's why I'm doing well or something. Anywho, all right, I see more hands up. Dewan had his hands up first. Go ahead, Dewan.
Okay, I'll try to sneak in before my grandson decides to come visit me again. He's been kind of in and out. The last week I was giving you the results of our little far out race from the previous weekend, and I didn't have the results and everything. But I was just kind of like ad living and taking some screenshots that I had, but I just want to do a recap on that, and we have some current standings of the club. So I was going to kind of share that with you on how intense not intense, but how much detail they pay attention to all the different races and rank the race and the standings for the whole year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And so I think I have it going here. Okay, so yeah, this is the result of the DTM race, and I had concluded that I had finished in last place, but I didn't. I actually finished in 17th out of 18th place. So, and that was the DTM race, and these are the winners. Tom Geesey. Tom Geesey's a really great racer. You know, I really like to see him. Personally, like to see him get out in some of the more competitive races that we, you know, the ones that have at Electric Dreams and other places, and kind of showcase his skill. He actually comes from a HO realm of things. He used to do the fray races and things like that. So I think he's used to those extremely fast cars and his knack at keeping an eye on those and racing and keeping them on the lane. So that's kind of held over. And then you see some other familiar faces. Tim Fleener, so he has a good hand. When he's on track, he's on track. And Walter Baines, of course, is there, and Bob Hooley. Those are the top guys for that particular race. That was a DTM race, and that was the first race. And the second race, this is the one that I felt that I was really confident in. I think I told you I was leading the heat for 3/4 of the race and everything, and one of the heats with real competitors, not just the bottom of the pack guys, you know. And somebody just mentioned, "Juan's leading this. Juan's leading this," and then pop went out. But nonetheless, I finished 8th overall, and this is my very best finish ever in the entire club out of 18 races. And if you look, I actually was 1.3 laps away from finishing 5th. Oh, right here, 5th. So, and these are the lap times are like 2.6 to 2.7 second lap time. So when you come out, you're losing 2 laps, a lap and a half to 2 laps. It's so literally just one or two brain farts away from making the from breaking the podium, close to making the podium anyway. So I just had to go and recap it because I've never done this before. So that's just my claim to fame. So that was that, and these are the standings that they've been posting for the club throughout. These are all the different classes. That second race was the Fly Le Mans class, and I guess I inherited a racer. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I feel that is the winning car in our club. It just needs to have a winning driver. So I'm taking me, putting it in the middle of the pack. But it is just a phenomenal car. It just you know, I won't even change the brakes, and I think it's got like 3 little tiny wires on the brakes. I don't want to change it, but not quite. It does need a little maintenance, but I'm afraid to do anything. It's so good. But nonetheless, so this is the standings for the whole year, up to date for the year. We do 5 races in each class, and this is the 60 to 70s Le Mans class. And out of the 5 races, they drop your lowest race, give you the top 4 rankings. And so this is the current standing for the Le Mans race. Walter Baines is top leader for that. Those are his scores. 20 is a winning score, 18 is the second place score, etc. So you see, you can really top the heat. My scores, I'm actually ranked 9th, which I'm just really surprised. You know, got an 11 and a 10 there, so that means I finished 8th here and 9th in that race. So And I have one more race to go, so I can race at 4. If I win, no, I'm not gonna win. So I can definitely move up a little bit by replacing that 4 with a decent ranking for that next race that we do. But it's a lot of statistics and things like that. And I'm a numbers kind of guy, so it just kind of intrigues me. I play with all this type of stuff, so that works.
Good job.
Way to go,
And
Duan.
so- yeah. So that's again the Le Mans tables. Just on the different races. So the NSR, you can see where I normally end up is right here, the 28th ranking class. But these are some of the top guys. But this is the NSR Formula Ones. But I only put in one race just on the NSR. Somehow those have been the ones that I've been missing because of whatever reason. We have 2 more races coming up, so we'll see. And this is the overall club standings for all the races combined. I think this time what this ranking is. So anyway, very intense statistics they keep up, and just give you a little idea of how they do it. That's all I had for today. My share. You can stop my share because I can't start find the buttons there. There it is.
I got you.
Thank you. My screen disappears in different places.
Well, good stuff, Juwan. Thanks for sharing. Moving on. Mike, you want to talk about some club stuff?
Yep. Oh, I have some shares today.
Oh.
Come on. So this was the first race. Lots of Porsche 9 and 17s. I decided since I had 3 of them that I would just run them all together and see what happened. And
NSR, they fly. NSR.
No, those are NSRs.
Okay, I didn't recognize the 28.
Yeah, it's actually the second slot car I ever bought.
Oh wow, nice.
So it's been around a long time. So I refurbished it a bit, and it did fairly well. The blue car is definitely the fastest. The green one, now I pulled the oxygen chip out of that was in it, because that was the one I had used to test some of the C chip things, and that's where I discovered about the problem with it. And so since I've put the C chips in other cars now, I've got a couple of extra SSD slotted chips, so I put one of those in there, so that made it viable. And it had trued and glued NSR tires on it, which I oiled a bit, since I know that NSR responds well to oil, but it didn't do too well during that. The G25s are still the tire to go on my track. That's the one that works. And I finished second. The blue car was just a rocket. It's the one that's been most developed, so I expected that. And I didn't do any balance of performance on this particular race, so we were all even up, and I lost it by about, I think, 1 lap, if I remember correctly. So it wasn't too bad. So, and then the second race, we raced a couple of Lancias and a Porsche 956. These are all slotted Group Cs. And the bruised and battered LC2 with no covers over the lights came out on top because I screwed up and gave myself too much balance of performance. I dropped my burn rate, and I dropped it more than I should have. And it became clear about 2/3 through the race that even though the car was slower, much slower, as a matter of fact, like 4/10 slower, that burn rate down twice was too much, and I won it going away. And after I discovered how much it was making a difference, I decided that I had to at least finish the race with a full tank and no damage points. So So I did a couple extra pit stops, but it wasn't enough to equalize it. So anyway, I kind of cheated my way to a win on that. Be careful if the guy that's doing the balance of performance also raises the car, apparently. So there was no malice of forethought in that. So anyway, I also have a question. On the new Scale Auto Cadillac, is Scale Auto using a different size grub screw for their wheels? Does Dennis know?
I think that maybe they're using an M2.5 now instead of the old M2s. It might
Oh,
be.
okay.
It's possible.
I think
It would
the,
make sense because their M2s were really bad always.
Were
I
they?
think the
Yeah,
foam
they're,
rubber
they're always a bad fit. The hex socket inside the screws that they were using was always just a little oversized, and so they strip real easy.
Well, this one, what is it? The 0.9 millimeter tool doesn't fit in it at all. I mean, it's just like. So I was wondering
Yeah,
if they
so-
came out with a new size hex in the M2
Yeah, so
screw.
it's a 1.27 like the NSRs now.
Okay.
which I think is the
Okay.
same as what they use on the foam rubber tires on the
No, the foam
No.
rubbers I think use a 1.5 millimeter hex because, well, maybe not on the 332 axle stuff. I'm not sure.
I always feel like I have to get a bigger tool for their wheels when I use the foam rubber, but I've never tried to figure out what the actual size is.
Well, if the 1.27 doesn't work, then yes, it's a 1.5.
Okay, that's all I have.
All righty, what you got, Jim?
Well, let's see. Get share here. It looks like right. For the first time in a long time, we have got nothing scheduled for this weekend. But we made up for it this past week. We had 4 events, 13 total races starting last Thursday. So we ran 3 classes, 2 IROC classes. You all know what Legends are, Trans Am. IROC bombers are basically Trans Am cars that have been lowered, fenders cut out, and 35K motors put in on a short oval. So they are a handful. And so that was Thursday night. Friday night, went down to Glen Canyon. Or Friday, we did a 6-hour practice on Friday. And then we did 4 classes on Saturday at Glen Canyon. Pioneer Legends again. So I ran those back to back. Classic Le Mans, Formula One, which we allow NSR. It's classic, not classic, but the 86, 89. So we allow the Scale Auto and the NSR and Group C. So I got to run my Jaguar again from the Slotted Nationals. And then, not to be outdone, we went to Fast Tracks on Sunday, which is a commercial track, and ran some of the same classes along with Group 5 and GT3. Justin Colvin joined us and ran Group C. And so we had a pretty good crowd. We had about 7 people. We had pretty light turnouts last week, but we had, I think, 6 or 7 of them that attended more than one event on the weekend. And then, since it wasn't enough, we had our Tuesday night HO race last night at Roseville Raceway. We ran Tyco 440X2 magnet cars and IROC TFXs, which are pancake motors, so they slide around a little bit and they're considerably slower. So, and I don't race magnet cars. I don't like, they're fun cars to drive. I don't like racing them, so I sat that race out. I sat out one of the races at Fast Tracks, so I loaned my F1 car to one of the guys who came up from Glen Canyon, and he ran it. So of the 13 races, I ran 11 of them. And so that was last week. I'm tired just thinking about it, but now I've got a whole weekend off. Now might go down to Motown tomorrow and practice, but you never know. So that was last week in NorCal Slot Car.
Wow.
Wow. Not for lack of racing, that's for sure.
Yeah, all within about, from my house
most of those were in Sacramento. Glen Canyon's about 140 miles away. It's down by Santa Cruz. So it's a 2.5, 3 hour drive. But other than that, they were fairly close to me, 30 miles. If you're willing to drive a couple hours in NorCal, you've got plenty of places to race at. 32nd, HO, you name it. So.
Yep. All righty. Thank you, sir. And Jeremy, you are next.
Okay. Let me see if I can share. Hope this works. Oh, wrong screen, of course. Yes. I hate Windows. Let's try screen one. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing this IO Model Auto Racers ad. This is our current mid-season standings where everybody's at. I am in second place, which is kind of unusual because I've really been sucking it up for the past couple of years. But what I really wanted to share was that I went into an AI art program and I asked it, give me a vintage slot car magazine that, you know, and all the parameters that I wanted. So I tried to make it look a little more interesting than just like a chart. So then I just took our spreadsheet and then put the same color background. And I'm trying to edit this into our webpage so I can get like different retro feels or kind of ideas for that. I just want to give you guys that idea. Like the first one I did kind of stunk, but the second one turned out a little better. I don't know. This is the first one I did. First one I did, hopefully it's sharing. Is this one different?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I took a picture of one of the tracks and tried to make it like an old sepia photo. And I just, that sucked. So I was like, nah, I'm not happy with that one. That's the problem with AI art right now is that I have no idea what some of these words are, and it doesn't do letters and words very well at all. But from a distance, I mean, when you first see it, like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then as long as you put the information you want in, you're fine. So
And just
anyway,
ignore the fact that the track has a combination of flat rail and HO rail, and the cars aren't actually lined up with the slot or the rail, and
sure, there's like a triple rail here. I don't know what it's doing, but
that's
apparently,
AI.
so I'm not worried about AI taking over the world just yet.
No.
But once it gets the words and letters figured out, it's over.
Well, at least it might take over the world, but at least you know it won't be on the right track.
Yeah.
That is some AI stuff right there.
Yeah. It looked pretty cool, though. The overall impression's great.
I'm not a graphic artist, so I can't like make these every time results come out, but I was trying to find an easy way for anybody to do it. That seemed to work okay.
Yeah, the first impression was like, hey, like when you first showed it, I'm like, oh, a vintage thing of some sort.
Yeah.
So it definitely had the right first impression.
There you go. It worked.
Pretty cool. All right, floor is open. Anybody got anything they want to talk about, slot or whatever? I'll talk about something real quick. So Courtney sent me that body, and I got the chassis. And he helped me with some of the oddities of manipulating the chassis to get it to fit right under the body. I went ahead and got Velcro dots to hold the body to the chassis. Not real happy with that because I just can't seem to get it in just the right place, and the Velcro wants to move it. Like I'll undo the Velcro and then put it where I want and stick it down, and then it's not where I want it to be anymore. But one of the other guys in the club is a commercial track, so he's all familiar with putting bodies on chassis of that kind. So he'll probably help me with some actual pins and stuff to get it nice lined up and everything. We actually used that car for King of the Hill on Monday night, and it was an interesting drive. The foam rubber hooked up fairly well on the track. We used the Scale Auto cleaner, basically just like it was Scale Auto foam rubber. And it hooked up okay. Not super fast, so it was, it wasn't like hard to control or anything. Not a whole lot of brakes, so it was kind of hard to control and everything. It was the perfect King of the Hill car because it was something that nobody there had ever driven, ever.
It looks good. It looks good going around the track.
And it looks hella good, exactly. Yeah. So that was fun. That'll probably end up showing up on more King of the Hills anytime we run on a wood track, because that guide, I don't really want to change the guide to run on plastic, so it's pretty much a wood track car. But yeah, I'll get the body properly mounted and take some pictures or something. But yeah, that was fun. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about?
I'll speak up if it's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm new to this. Jeremy knows me real well. I'm from Sully. I go by Thunderjet on Home Racing World. I've just had the afternoon off, and I just thought I'd sit in a while.
Hey, thanks for coming. Do you want to spend a few minutes talking about your slot car history like we usually make other newbies do?
Oh, I was out of it for a long time. Got in about 5-6 years ago again. I do a lot of the proxies on Home Racing World. I have a track. Jeremy's raced at it, so yep. I'm just sitting in for fun. I'm hosting the 50/50 proxy, so.
Perfect. Very familiar story. Played with it as a kid. Didn't play with it for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades. And then, hey, slot cars.
They're still around.
They're still around.
Well, it all happened when I dragged my plastic track out and my grandkids wanted to had them playing with it. Well, you have 4 grandkids and 2 lanes, and it wasn't enough. So when I built a track in my basement, the guys found out I built one. They said, we need to do this again. So that's how it got started.
Mm-hmm. And then you're hooked.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll keep on coming to future chats, and you'll be one of our regulars. I don't see any hands or anything. We got 10 more minutes, or I can just stop early. John's fixing his hair. Apparently, we're going to do some hairdressing today.
Yeah. I got a couple of white kits that I just got in, and maybe I'll fetch those if you like.
Yeah, we like cars. That's what we're here for. And what is happening with Dewan's screen? I'm going to zoom in on that. It's an empty chair.
Yeah, but it's also waving at us. It's waving hello.
I'm like, what is? I thought it was like a Batmobile kind of thing going on. No, it's his empty chair.
Yeah. I've had my camera off to try and sort out my bandwidth issues here today, so put it back on now. The next big event at Electric Dreams is, of course, the ML Slot Car Challenge coming up the 11th of September. So I picked this up yesterday, which is the white kit. I'm going to run the Jaguar. Run the Jaguar J220 this time. Mm-hmm. I like it. You know, it's low and flat. It's a little more tail than I like, and not quite enough nose. But the one that I do have that runs pretty well on our track, so I'll just do this one up. And of course, once it's painted in blue and silver and pink, it will no doubt be faster than the other one that I've got. So we'll give it a try. And then the other thing that I got as well, just purely because I have every other one of the GT3 cars, is the Scale Auto, the Callaway Corvette. And so I'm going to build that up as well. These days that I don't build as many scratch-built cars as I used to because of the problems with the arthritis in my fingers, I find myself doing a lot more painting. And maybe one of these days I'll get reasonably good at it. But yeah, that's just the white kit of the Scale Auto. It looks pretty much like all the other Scale Auto GT3s. Although this must be an earlier kit because I don't think it has the suspension at the back like some of them do. Although was it only the LMPs that have that? I'm not sure.
And it's only the LMPs and it's only the RS.
Yeah, the RS ready to runs all have that, but the LMP, even the white kits have suspension at the back.
Yeah, the Cadillac has suspension on it. Same.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a Pro Series car though?
Which
all the LMPs are Pro Series, I thought.
Well,
the Callaway isn't, I know.
Yeah, I think it was just an RCA. I don't know. I didn't look, quite honestly. I'm nearly as bad as Tony as far as that's concerned. Just buy them. Anyway,
that's why you work at Electric Dreams, right?
Yeah,
I've
to
got the
sponsor my
painted version of that.
sponsor my addiction to little plastic cars.
Hmm.
The Callaway is just a little bigger than the regular C7 and has a bit of a bit more of an aggressive look to it. The wing is a little bigger and so on. A couple of the guys who ran them, I think, last year in the Scale Auto Challenge, they ran pretty well. So I'm going to give it a try. Haven't done one yet. Then, you know, I guess you need to have a Callaway in a Corvette collection at some point.
Can
So
I,
that's me.
can I share something?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dennis?
This, oh, go ahead, Tom.
He wants to show himself. Okay, hold on. There you go.
Yeah, there's a Wheeling version. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a super pretty car. Wow, when you see that thing in the flesh, it's really nicely done. Like all the Scale Autos these days, they've really upped their game as far as their tamper printing and their detail is concerned.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if I'm sharing a picture of a track here,
Mhm.
Yeah.
this is Craig's track, the guy who just joined from Iowa. I think he owns probably one of the only commercial tracks in Iowa right now. He's got a parts store over here. He's got another oval track back here. Of course, Craig, you can speak to that. How often do you guys race? Like every Wednesday or Thursday or something? Oh,
It's
do you
muted.
leave?
On here, man.
Muted.
We'll be starting October 1st and we race every Thursday night.
Yeah, so whereas we race like once or twice a month, they're like weekly. So if you're anywhere in Iowa, he's right in the middle of the state. You can get there from pretty much anywhere in Iowa in 90 minutes. So
Nice. That's a nice looking track, too.
Thanks.
Is that it looked like braid? Is it Magna braid or regular braid?
No, I have a 1/8 slot, but I used 3/16 braid, and the surface was painted with enamel paint. Then I clear coat it with a triple coat of polyurethane. I wanted it smooth, not like latex, and it has very good grip with rubber.
Yeah.
Silicone does okay too.
I was gonna say with that kind of coating, you can use the glue stuff and still clean it off every once in a while, right?
We don't clean the track. All we use is lint rollers on to pull the dust off. That's it.
Okay. Cool beans. Yeah, beautiful track. I'd be over there for sure. All right, Jim's got his hand up. Got a couple minutes left. Jim, what you got?
Well, Dennis had the white kits. I don't think I showed this before. If I did, I'm sorry, but I finally finished the Ferrari 488.
Oh.
And I just picked up some generic Marlboro decals from Atalaya that are off one of their Formula One cars. And so it went together pretty nicely. And it's a real easy paint job to do. You just mask off the white, shoot it with red, and then the white's the plastic color. And I clear coated it. I didn't clear coat the whole body. I clear coated the decals with the Tamiya, with a brush, and it works really well.
Wow.
And
This
is a color you kind of have to see in person. It's Tamiya bright red, 2 coats of that, and I just spray a mist of metallic red over it, so it's got a little metallic in it. And I got a little overspray here, but it doesn't bother me that much. So
if you hadn't told us about that, we wouldn't have seen it.
well, I actually fogged that in around there for effect, but yeah, that's
okay.
now I can't not see it.
Yeah, of course.
And I did the headlight covers. Just I had a chrome yellow, which is not a pure yellow, just misted it, so it's kind of transparent. And I wanted the Ferrari decals, so I picked one of the sheets from Atalaya that has the Ferrari logo, and then obviously the Marlboro livery, and it worked out pretty well. So that's the extent of my modeling skills.
I like the numbers too.
It looks good. I mean, when the Marlboro is, I've always liked the scheme. It's easy to see on the track. It stands out, and it's super easy to do.
Yeah.
And the cars with number 4 on them are particularly fast.
Okay, but how does it run, Jim? Let's get right to the nuts.
It's okay. The body weighs about 23 grams because it's got a full engine under the cover. So I don't know that it runs good. I don't know that it's going to be the best race car. So I'm still working on that.
And are you running the stock motor angle winder stuff, or you got a sidewinder? What'd you put in it?
It's angle winder, and in our class rules, we're required to run the NSR 21.4. So whatever car you have, you can take the slot or Maserati, put a side angle winder pod in it with the NSR motor. So it's the run requirement in that class. It's a spec motor spec.
How far off is it from your fast cars?
With the body off, it set an all-time track record at Modesto. With the body on, typically the body on, a couple tenths maybe. This one was a half a second slower with the body off, body back on. So it's the weight of the body. But without, like I said, I test it sometimes with what body off just to see how good it really is, and then go from there. But it's good. I haven't put it on a short track. I think it'd be fine on a short track, but on the big high bite tracks, it's just okay.
The one that I have runs probably as well or maybe a little better than just about all the other sideways GT3 cars that I have. I thought it was very nice. It's not as fast not as good as the Aston Martin. That's still, to me,
still the best car on our tracks. Yeah.
Of the sideways GT3s, the Aston Martin is still far and away the best one certainly on my track.
That's what the fast guys at Motown are running.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and hit the end stream button. Everybody wave bye till next week. Bye.
Bye.
As we're done.
Thanks, guys.
Check on yourselves.